Winnie. What?
Okay. I think we'll start now. I'm going to pass it to KACIVAKA, who's going to take us through with our first. Over to you.
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, everybody, members of the KACIVAKA. I'd like to take this time to welcome you to our division briefing. On behalf of the Executive Director, the management team, and your officers here at the Secretariat, I'd like to welcome you to this briefing this afternoon. Thank you for bearing with us, although we had planned to start at 4, but we are starting now. So I'd like to thank you for your patience on that. Just before we proceed further, I'd like to inform everyone that the briefing today is specifically for the briefing is on KACIVAKA tool. So after this training, we will halt all activities for the PFM until we receive the funding from UNDP through Piango. So I just want to make that clear before we proceed with the training. I'll now invite the Executive Director to take us through. Thank you.
Why am I looking at myself? Bula. It's good to see you again, although we are unable to meet face to face, as we had assured you, because our meeting in Lotoka, we were testing the tool. We could see that there was still a need to go through the basics of what we are doing when we use the KACIVAKA tool. Today is really just my job is really just to introduce it again, maybe just to provide you an overview of what we hope to achieve, and that's really that this part of the public finance management project, compared to the last maybe 3 years, is about also ensuring our participation in the oversight of public finance. In the first maybe 2 years, we were looking at participation, where we would do budget submissions. We'd be talking at the national and the subnational level, but now we are going a bit deeper to look at the effectiveness aspect of it. And the KACIVAKA tool was developed to allow us as community experts to assess government's capacity to avail data. So that concept is the open data capacity. So when governments are able to avail information, communities are able to then access it and understand how they can access the services and the support that is available within government. One that is also funded by taxpayers. KACIVAKA allows us to use a tool that was co-designed with MEFAS in 2021, as I explained, to look at the values of open data, as well as the principle that we often use in our work with communities during disaster, called the accountability to affected populations principle. Okay? It is to drive or emphasize that even as you're delivering humanitarian assistance, your responsibility to be accountable to communities is not suspended, even if you're working in emergency. You continue to be expected to demonstrate accountability. You are expected to report back to communities about how that support is done. Some of you were at the initial resort when this tool was developed. And some of you may not have been, but don't worry, along the way, we'll continue to learn more about this tool. And then some of you who have joined today have also participated in the first rollout in the north, the results of which we were, the media was covering the result of that a few weeks ago. We hope to do this for all divisions, but we think that this is the basis by which the work that we do for oversight can begin. Is first gauge how open the information is, how much can you access as people who live in these communities that are affected. And once we get the outcomes, we will take this to the agencies you've chosen to monitor, to ask them to improve the information that's been availed, either on their website, their Facebook, or whatever else. We're going to use the outcome of your assessment over the next few days to provide some pointed recommendations to these government agencies to open up that access. That allows us then to then monitor for the next few months till Genpa.
Yes.
We monitor till Jan. So once those information become available online, then it enables us to do our oversight job a bit better. So for now, we will take it, one tool at a time. This is the foundational work, which is to gauge how much information is out there, what kind of information is out there. We will use that then to go to government agencies and this to share with them. These are the different aspects that you have to avail so that we can do oversight your projects that are being implemented in our divisions. So I'll use the example of the North. They are choosing to monitor the Fiji Roads Authority, which is has some funding from ADB. To develop, I think, the wharfing #1 in Sabu. And I think the sharing from Tundovi initially this morning is absolutely no information on that. So he started his own monitoring for KACIVAKA. We want them to avail that in order to understand, okay, this is your work program. For the roads or for the wharf, then we know what to expect in Jan, or we know what to expect in September, what to see. If it doesn't match with their work program, then we come back to them and say, you're lagging behind. We can alert even through the complaints and grievance mechanism where we have a representative and she can bring that up through that. That's the idea. And I know that we might not be able to figure it out. There's some things that are unclear. Some of it you'll continue to learn more as you go along. What I should continue to emphasize is that this is an assessment tool. It is based on your experiences. It is based on your knowledge, what you see. It's not based on anybody else. You're not interviewing anybody else. It is you. If it's not you, if you're delegating it to somebody, then it's based on that person's experience in whatever community that person is in. Now, I've heard from USA and I've heard from Tundovi. I've heard from Ananai in Reudikos that they are nominating 2 per day courses, and so we can then discuss it after this. I would probably then hand over. I think this session is really focused on understanding how to use Kobo and what the question is asking. We're very fortunate that Josiah, who did the piloting in the North, Josiah, who helped to do the piloting in the North. I think Merciana is here too. Merciana, are you here? Oh, okay, yes, okay, yes. So Josiah will take us through the Kobo platform, the Kobo tool. And if there are questions about the content, questions about how you're rolling this out, remember this is based on your observation and experiences. That's it. So wherever you are, maybe if you live in, like I was asking Mr. Nakora, it doesn't have to be somebody who lives in Nabodi. It can be you. We're just looking at the levels of access that people have, whether they live in an urban area or they live in a rural village. Because you'd be surprised, some people who live in urban areas may not, that information may not be available. So it's an assessment based on your experiences as community experts. You are experts of your own communities. Eh? This is the tool is based on that. And I'll just hand it over to Josiah.
Okay, thank you, Edie. Bolabanak, everyone. So nice to see you again after 1 week of being away from each other, 1.5 weeks, and to meet virtually. So hope to see some of you in person. Just before we jump straight into the technical bit, do you have any questions regarding, from your experiences when you were in Lautoka? Do you have any follow-up questions or anything? I'll take the silence as a no. I'll get straight to it. I'll just like what we did. I'm just gonna go through the form online while I'm trying to see if we can get offline. So this is just to help us understand the type of questions that that you're being asked. You're not going to ask, as Vani have alluded to, you are not going to ask somebody else about these questions. So what we're asking is your experiences. So you're going to respond to the questions as your experience in terms of the agencies that you're familiar with. The first thought that we would like to, the first step that we're going to make is now whatever the ministry that you've assessed, there are two ways of assessing that. I just want to differentiate the two. When we're going to start talking about virtual, what are some of the things that we'd like to do before that? When we're talking about virtual, we're referring to the availability of data and also the availability of information online. So a few of the things that you would be looking at, just to giving us a heads up, that would include, do they have a website? If they have a website, what form of information available on the website that you can have access to? So say, for example, if you're looking at the Itoki Affairs, a Ministry of Itoki Affairs, what form of information? Do they have a website? What information do they have readily on the website? Are those the important information that will help you access their services or help you inform of what they have? Basically, does it include, one of the classic examples that we discussed in the North was, when we're going to talk about youth, what are some of the things that we're looking at on the website? So the response that came back, what form of information you want to see on the website? The response that comes back, we would like to see the schedule of visitations or of the youth officer that comes to our community so that we can be ready and to prepare for that. So that is what you think, or when we're talking about open data and agency, that is something that we would like to see. But is that happening? So you're looking at that, but also a heads up for us that not all ministry have an active working website. Most of them uses social media, and that's also part of the virtual assessment. Some of them using, they update the Facebook every now and then. So we take that as well as a form of virtual assessment. So when you go to virtual assessment, as I've said, these are the questions applicable to those availability of data online or the access. So for the first sections, it's about data collection and just the number. So let's just do maybe a couple of them together, just to help you in the thinking behind. Again, a reminder, you're not going to ask somebody else. I'm not going to go to USA and ask USA in terms of this. No, this is your experience. For example, Mr. Joseph Lowe, in your community, in your farming community, out in Tavua. So if you are to answer this, is there credible data hub? Is there a credible data hub? Is there evidence that the data has been triangulated, that the data has been triangulated to customers or communities? So meaning, is there a place where you can go and access data for things that, I'm not sure what of the agencies that TAV would choose, but if you're going to talk about health, are the data available or credible data available online? And are they being triangulated by communities? How sure are you about that? So are the data available from the community base or not? So, and you just, it's not a yes or no. It's kind of like a rating. So the reason why we do rating is based on experiences as well. Sometimes, yes, it's available, but it's outdated and it was community triangulated. So then that you may say like I'll leave it at 2. Why? It's available. That's one thing, but it's outdated. Or I'll just leave it at 0 when there is nothing at all. But if it is updated, then you can leave it at 4 or a 5, depending on your rating. Again, you're not asking of someone else's experience, you're just answering these according to your experience. And the second one is the data consistent and has it been updated in the last 6 months? So very straightforward. Looking at the data that is available, is it consistent? Has it been updated in the last 6 months? You can look at the data. There should be a place where it says that that is the data from which date or what events. And then again, it can be a yes or no answer. What we're giving you the leeway to answer in a rating form, because sometimes it might be available, but it's outdated. Sometimes it's not consistent, but it's updated, or it's updated, but not consistent. And then you can play around with whether you rate it at 2, 3, or maybe 1, or not updated at all or consistent. So that's why you're gonna put 0. So we're asking these questions to your experience. And we're not expecting you to go and ask somebody else to respond to it. Any question on that?
Just want to comment. I see that we got this the questions and the ratings. Is it possible that I'm just suggesting that you put another column there where we can put a comment apart from the rating?
Is there a comment section?
No.
On the form there, was it? Okay, we can repeat it after.
Thank you, Mr. Low, for that. We'll take that on board. Can we repeat before they start, or?
Depends if we have enough agreement from around the room.
Okay. Yeah. No, just suggestion. This is a suggestion. I'm looking at the format we have here. You know, sometimes yes. the ratings is there, but apart from the rating, the question is there, we can put a comment. No, just to highlight on some. Sometimes you put the rating, but you don't actually know the actual what is the actual the rating that. You know, put a comment against the ratings.
I'll leave that to the room, to those of you who are joining. If you are in agreement to add that, we can add it. Thank you, Mr. Low, for that. Yes, we can add it after each question, where you can explain a bit for your rating. But I'd like to hear from those in the room, anyone against that, or anyone in opposition. If not, then I'll take your silence as all in agreement. Once, twice. Agree. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Low, for that. Thank you, Casey. We take that on board. So we'll review the questions, Mr. Low. I'm looking at so before you start, then we're going to go through again after this. Then I'll do a process on how to get the updated format. That I'll use my phone, so that you can see a screen sharing from my phone on how to update accordingly to your phone. But for those of you who are going to use the website, it's quite straightforward. You don't have to use a phone You don't have to worry about the updated form because as soon as I share the link, the link refreshes on its own. Yeah? But it's those who are joining using the app, we're going to go through a little bit on how to refresh that in the next few minutes. Eh? So any other questions from this? Any other queries or any suggestions in addition to the suggestion from Mr. Low? The only difference between the virtual and the field, the virtual, as I've said, the availability of data on online, whether it's the website or if they have the social media, if you'd like to browse, but it not necessarily, we're not forcing you to look hard. We are trying to see how accessible that is. So you don't have to ask, your granddaughter, your grandchild, or your sons and your daughter to respond to this, but we would like to hear from you. Is it readily available for you? If it is available online, yes, some of the information available online, but we have to go through so many tabs. Is that accessible for you? What form of, so those are the few of the things that we would like to assess. So you answer them from your perspective or from your experience when you maneuver yourself on this virtual platform. The second one that we are going to look at is field. Field is straightforward. It's about you in your community. So it's more about, so this one will be a little bit easier because you're not going to do you're not going to their website, you're not going to the social media. You're just like sitting like Credible Data Hub. Is there evidence that the data has been triangulated by customer communities? To translate that a little bit or to spell that out? Do they come to the community to collect data? So that means like it's triangulated by your community. If the ministry never comes to your community, it's a flat out zero. It's funny that when we're doing this in the North, one, you have to ask me again, hey, is this true? It's like, yeah, if they rated zero, I cannot do anything about it because that's their experience. So it was funny that some of them, the virtual a little bit better, but their ground experience or their field experiences were not so very good. So it's your experience. You don't have to go and ask again or to walk about because we would like to get your response to this. For example, that's the second question there, 1.4. Are the existing community data collection system, including those in informal spaces, accountable and aligned to established agency guidelines? So looking at those, this is one of the things that came back from a co-design is most of the programs and data collection goes to registered village, commissioned village, goes to town spaces. But what about those who are living in informal settlements, those who are living in the informal sector? So if you're living in those spaces, in the informal spaces, whether it's a farmland or whether you're living in informal settlement, do they come and do you know that they have existing data? Do they come to your community to ask you for those data? Maybe not. How you answer it depends on your rating. So, but we'll include that comment section as well as per suggested from Mr. Low, so that gives you the leeway to explain a bit. Oh, I rate it 2 because yes, they come, but it's still restrictive. It's not accountable. They're just asking us question and then they didn't come back. So that basically what we're going to do. Ms. Ma, go ahead.
Just one question. Sorry, because I was a bit late. What are we assessing here? What are we assessing on this, like the KACIVAKA project?
I leave it to Vani to respond to that.
So basically, stress now, what we're trying to do here is to look at the capacities of government agencies to avail data, to avail information. That's basically what we're trying to assess. We are assessing the open data capacities of government agencies. Right? Now, if you missed the beginning of my explanation, we had met in 2021 it was 2021, end of 2021, at the Pearl. And when we were at the Pearl, we co-designed with the members this tool, and we had looked at the values of open data and the principle of accountability to affected populations. And this was based off the experiences that the DCOS and the members of the DCOS had while responding to disasters and helping communities that had been impacted. And they could see the connection to the lack of resilience and that community's access or lack of access to information. And it was basically information on government services, on recovery support, and all of that. So there were communities that had been impacted, and even though government had rolled out support programs, some of these communities had no idea that you turned up to their communities and you could see that they hadn't moved from when the cyclone had hit. When we asked them about all of this support that government had rolled out, they had no idea. So the idea of a tool to be able to diagnose whether the different agencies were able to avail this information became part of the goal. It became necessary for us to do that in order to communicate to government that you need to improve these aspects of open data in your agencies. So that communities could recover, could use that, could access what government was availing in terms of the budgetary processes, in terms of official development assistance, could use that to then recover, to build back. So that was where the KACIVAKA tool came up. So we are basically looking at how government agencies are availing that information about the kinds of services that they can offer to communities to help them recover, to help rebuild resilience. So this is that tool. So
Malo Vakalebu I get it.
It's not a survey per se where we ask people. It's based off your experiences. That's why we asked for DCOS reps from different districts who are based there to conduct this and base it off their own experiences.
Vinaka.
Santon, Vinaka to.
Vinaka, Mistress, for the questions. Any other questions or clarification that from those of us who are here? I'll take silence as an oath with the recommendation.
For agency assessed, what do we write there?
So you need to explain who you guys chose the agency.
This was chosen by Eastern collectively because this is one of the agencies that work with us, and also we are looking at that as well because of the engagement in the DRR in the Eastern. So we'll be assessing rural and maritime.
Oh, rural and maritime for us, Moala.
Yeah, Moala would be Kandang.
Vinaka usa.
Dantar Serana.
Any other questions or clarifications? Okay, let's try this. I haven't done this for quite some time. Okay. Oh, yes. Set. So for those of us who are joining, who are going to use using the app, so you'll have to go to Kobo Collect, and I know that some of you haven't downloaded it. We'll talk more a bit after this. I might have to do one-on-one for those of you who missed out. But for those of us who already have this, Kobo Collect, this is the process of getting the updated form. So you're gonna go to, you look at the first, second, third, you'll see that the get blank form, that's what you're going to click on. It will take some time to connect to the server. And then these are the two active forms. These are the two active forms that we're going to use at our community that we're going to use for this project. But for the community observation report, we're going to use that monthly for monthly monitoring. But for a start, we're going to use KACIVAKA. You can download both, or you can update it both. But if it appears when you look at the, when you go here and then the KACIVAKA has the tick beside it, that means I've updated the form. So all you have to do is to click on the get selected at the bottom. So after that, you'll have the updated form and download succeeded. That means it has been successful. So then after that, then you just go back to fill blank form, the first option, and then you can go back and go to KACIVAKA project. There's a version there, KACIVAKA project. Then you'll start your filling form as well. It will be the same as we've discussed. These are the questions that are going to that you're going to be prompt first. Just a select date. Once you go there, it will give you the current date on the day. So you just click OK. And then go to next at the bottom right corner. So as you click next, go to agency access. This agency access are just a similar thing that Ms. Maya asked. This is a collective decision by division. So the central, not quite sure what the central division choice, but the Eastern Division, they're looking at the Ministry of Rural Maritime Development, and the
North is the future roads.
disaster management. So North is choosing future roads. So whichever agency that you're looking at, you can put, it doesn't matter how you put it, whether you put the acronym or just rural and maritime, because we can pick it up from here. But as long as it indicates, it give us some sort of indication which agency you're choosing. Yeah? So MR and DDM. So that is for the Eastern Division. Straight after you go to assessor. In here, we're going to ask you to use the similar name throughout. So if you'd like to use your first name on a first name basis, or that's okay. If you want to use a full name, that's fine as well. But we're going to pick out this one to then tell us which community that you are assessing this from. So as soon as you respond, you go to next. This is where you're going to differentiate. You're going to fill this KACIVAKA survey twice. just like the online one. In the app, you're going to fill it twice. So the first time around, if you're going to, if you want to assess the online one, you click on virtual. Or if you want to assess your experience on the ground first, then you click on field. What we can do is we'll share the Word or the PDF form of the questions with everyone, so that you can familiarize yourself again with the question. For those of us who are joining us for the first time, the type of questions that you are expected to respond to before you can then go and do this assessment whenever the rollout starts. Yeah, so when you join virtual, the questions that are only applicable to virtual will come up. So this is how it looks like on your phone. It's just a rating, whether 5, totally agree, everything is available, or 0, 4, disagree with whatever the statement is. So it's more like a statement, and then you're agreeing to the statement. Excuse the lining, like number 1.7, does the agency ensure that it just appears like that on your screen? It has to do with the app. But that's one question. So does the agency ensure that community capacity of data collection, data integrity, and processes of consent is intact during the engagement? So if they're coming to the community to collect data, do they ask for your consent first? Do they ask for your consent for them to, number one, get information out of you, and also to ask for your permission for the use of that? So those are the type of questions that you go. So as I said earlier, your answer might be yes, not really. So that's where you're going to play with your rating from 0 to 5. Yes, Ms. Ma.
Just one suggestion. There was certain level to taro. Balik na form, it's like 543210 in the form, but in the apps it's like just circles. So if we can start from 0 to 5 instead of 543210, if the number can start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of going 5 down, we just like shade the dots. So 1, 2, 3, the more the dots, that's the number of points. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. We'll
instead of numbering, we just shade the dots in the apps.
Oh no. I believe this numbering is okay. The dots will be a bit confusing.
Yeah, the numbering.
Sorry.
If not, we just put the numbers.
Switch the numbers.
Oh, the numbers, the first one to start from 0 to 5 instead of 5 to 0.
Yes, I think it is.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that from my side, I think you can do from 0 to 5 rather than the shadings.
Yeah.
Okay.
A bit confusing when it 5 to 1, 5 to 0. Because people will think, what's this, whether the rating is better or the rating is worse. Of course, the number normally from 0 to 5, as the number goes up, the rating goes up.
Right.
But like we would raise it's like a bit confusing. I won't understand whether the rating is going up or whether the rating is going down. But if you're trying to assess something to see whether that rating is good, the number is supposed to be going up. From 0 to what is that? I'm just putting up the.
Sure, we'll consider that. Thank you, Mr. Low and Ms. Ma. Any other question? I'll take the silence as a no. So yeah, so that's the only difference. As I've said, whether it's a virtual or field, that will determine the type of questions that are going to be prompt to respond to. Whether you're responding to questions applicable for virtual assessment. But then again, a reminder: you're not asking. We are not asking you to go and interview someone else. We are asking of your experiences in terms of this. Any other question before we wrap up for today?
Just one last question, Jay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we have this in the English language. We have this in our Fijian language when we visit villages like that. Trying to relay the message to them. Sometimes it's a bit they kind of find it hard. We can put it in the vernacular language to like the Fijian language when we visit villages.
Yeah, Mr. Low, again, yeah, we're hearing that. We already started the discussions in translating it. But the thing is, this question you don't have to go and ask the community. We are asking you, your experiences. So you staying in a community as Mr. Joseph Low, what are your experiences in terms of those questions? We're talking about virtual, so you're not asking any other person to come and so you're answering those questions from your experiences. Do you see them coming to the community? The reason why we have rating is, yes, you can see them coming to the community, but you're not engaged. Why? Because you're not originally from there, or maybe you're in a farmland, you're not part of the community. So how does that, what does that mean for us in terms of you, having access to those available information that you might need that is pertinent for you to make decision? So those are a few of the things. We're not asking someone else. We're asking you to respond to these from your personal experiences. Go ahead, Ms. Ma.
How often do we do the assessment for the KACIVAKA project?
This is the second time we're doing it. We've piloted it. It was just to assess, our pilot was with the Northern Division. We've had the first report. We can also share. I know that we have some new addition to the team. So we're going to share the scorecard with you all. And sure, we'll share it with everyone else.
I think it is on.
Wait, let me. Oh, okay. But this is the second time we're using it. We're hoping that this is not going to be the last time. So when we piloted, it was to see if it works, and we now have we know that it worked. So this is the second time for us to use it, and we're using it with the project to help us understand the issue of access and agency. So I'll give Vani just the last few minutes just to go through us the outcomes and the findings that we have for the benefit of those of you joining us for the first time.
Naka, so just I'm loving the questions that are coming, and I know that in time we will try and translate the questions that's on the tool, so that anyone who now we're just relying on those of us who can understand perhaps the language. And even if you don't understand, you can always reach out to us and ask us what this means. I know that the questions are pretty complex for some of us, and we're working on simplifying them. But anyway, when you're done doing that, we will compile the data into a scorecard that will look like this. And so when we will, of course, make sure that there is information on who conducted the assessments, who we conducted the assessments on, where it was undertaken, dates, the evaluators you can see there, And then the information is then presented this way. There's a general overview of how they scored. You can see that the last one that happened in the north, none of the agencies assessed scored above 50%. And they were Department of Social Welfare, Ministry of Health, Itoke Affairs, NDMO, which is the Rural Development, and Ministry of Youth and Sports. Yeah? And then the above agencies were rated against three conditions. You can see that there's three sort of big themes when you're doing your assessments. There are big three themes, which Josh has gone through with you. Data collection, integrity, and consent. So there's a big focus on data, how it's collected, how believable it is in terms of integrity, and how it was obtained, which relates to consent. Then the second one is around connections, coordination, and services. And basically, this is how well they, in terms of infrastructure. And, when we're talking about infrastructure, it's like, the towers, Lau was here earlier, and they were talking about the disconnects, and how that affects coordination and how services is availed. Then the third one is relationships and community capacity. How well does that give government agency maintain relationships? How has the impact been in terms of your community capacity? Has it increased the capacity of community or not? So that's generally the three topics that you are assessing these government agencies on. And then the data is usually presented this way. So that's a big summary here. And then we're going down into those three preconditions or subjects, so themes. So it's presented this way. There's a virtual and the field. There's a bit of a summary here. Then you go on to the next one. It goes into precondition 2, compares the virtual, the field. Then there are some highlights from what we picked up in your the data that you've submitted. Then we have precondition 3. That's in a summary across all agencies. Then we go into the agency diagnosis, where we use a traffic light system. So if it's green, it's strong. If it's yellow, it's okay. Then it's red, then it's in trouble. And when we are putting in summaries from your assessments, the detailed questions that you are asking, we put it this way. If they perform well, so first you should understand that when we talk to them about the field assessments, the cumulative field assessment, we present that in blue on the scorecard. So if it's blue, it's field assessments, it's stuff that's been collated from your field assessment across all agencies. And if it's in green, if it's in this box, that means they performed well on that. If it's in yellow, not so well. This is the red bit. This is where they really, really need to improve. So you can see how that's been done here. So we give each agency their own rating across those three things. Yeah, you can see. And then we tell them, this is where you perform well. When we ask these questions, in the tool, this generated positive data, positive ratings. So you can see that they did well in terms of the field, social welfare. When it comes to where they did okay, there's some bits on the online and there's some bits on the field. Where they did really badly is the online, which is why it's in this red box. Yeah, that's basically how it goes. So each agency will get their sort of summary. You can see for the affairs, they might have some really good online presence. That's why in the green box where they did well, we've got all of these, these questions that come from the aspects on field, black. So in terms of, like for example, when you ask them, when you put in your assessments on this question, is there a form for request for information? Most of the 6 that did the work in the north, they attested to that Itoke Affairs has a form for requests for information. So in terms of data handling, Itoke Affairs might have, they got that on their website. Does the agency ensure that communities' capacity for data collection, data integrity, and process of consent is intact during their engagements? So obviously it's in the green box. That means that this agency online has all of this. Then you can see that in the red, there is some, it's mostly blue things, which means that in terms of their field engagement, it's a little bit poor. You can see there. So it's going across each agency, like the Ministry of Health. There's a combination of both the field engagement and the online engagement, some positives. There's some positives. In the red, mostly negative in terms of the online, their online content. So it goes through all of that. You can see that. That's where we pulled out some, like our analysis from. You can see for Ministry of Youth, in green, nothing. Nothing. And this is from the north. And the last bit of the card is just a background on how it was created, the objectives of the project, how it was rolled out. And we'll do the same thing for this one. We may not have we may outline this, but we will talk about how this is rolled out in the various divisions. And this is the scorecard that we send to government agencies, and we use to advocate about all those things that need to be improved. Are we clear?
Yes, Naka.
Yeah,
Naka, any other questions? Look, if you have questions, that's okay. This is the sort of work that might be new. We were asked to share this at the global level. I don't think in other places that this is something that their civil society or community-based organizations do. So I've done this to maybe one at the global level, which is by invitation to the World Bank. Can't remember where else I did this, but you should know that sometimes it will seem confusing. When you are confused, please use the DCOS coordination or chat to us about where we need to provide clarity. There are things we are learning from you as much as we are learning from those who have helped us to develop.
Vani, can we have a copy of your slide?
This scorecard there, I'll send it on. Are you on DCOS coordination?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll put it as photos, each of the pages, so it's easy for you to refer to it,
Naka Vani.
Naka stress. Sabang may konatik yung sa munchi.
Sa wakamyas na kami kitula ko anti-Vani. Berarti na juga betul di roket.
Yeah. Naka sana kaya I think the thing we need to talk about now is I want to recommend that there be 2 study courses and that's the analysis over the next 2 days. 2 study courses. 2 study courses. Say for example in the eastern that would be 2 from Kandahar, 2 from Donggala, 2 from Ovalau Moturiti.
Yeah.
It's in the community.
Merto chico sarang a lot of communities, Now we need names and numbers, and if you can explain this to them. If you can't, but even if it's too difficult, what we can do is do a divisional team.
Is the already ahead of Giovanni?
Huh?
Is the division already ahead of you?
Yeah. I give it to you. I give it to you. Sorry, let me not confuse you.
But what I want to add is that, I know that sometimes it might be confusing. Don't hesitate to reach out. I will be by my phone, but you can call us on our mobile number in the office is 999-7608. That is our super office. We also have the Western office. Will provide this information on the DCOS coordination, so don't worry about it. Our Western office official number is 999-1151. Unfortunately, they only work during working hours because none of our staff are willing to take the phone home. No, we have a policy against that. So as long as one of us is in the office, whether it's 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., if you call those two numbers and someone answered, that means we're still in the office. If not, then feel free to drop your queries on DCOS coordination. It's always good to receive questions on DCOS coordination because at the same time, our response to that allows others to have the same queries read of our responses. Yes, we have coordinators in the division. We have Pet from the Western Division. So to ease our communication, our first stop or our first point of communication will be to those coordinators. Pet from the Western, USA for the Eastern Division, who's from the North, Dobby from the Northern, and not quite sure who's from the Central.
Or Sophie.
Sophie. Sophie is a coordinator from the Central. If all else failed, meaning that you have to try all those avenues. If they don't work, then you can reach out to me. So
And Pa is the lead. So Josiah handles the Kobo platform, which you have just gone through. But what we may need by tomorrow is your divisional teams.
yes.
Who's doing the analysis from where, or the evaluation from where, and the numbers, because we will send top-ups. Yes.
So with that said, any other questions? If not, then I'll have to enjoy the spread provided by Andivani and served by Madam Inga. I think it got cold because of the aircon. Ms. Ma, feel free to drop a message into our Eastern Division chat line. If not, I know that we have a few as well who are fairly new to this KACIVAKA project. We have one sitting with us in the room. I still have to attend to him, but for those of you joining, this session as well is recorded live on YouTube. We're going to share I think it's already shared on DCOS coordination. If you want to revisit some of the responses from Vani, feel free to go to YouTube. On the YouTube link, we'll reshare it again every now and then, just to make sure that that you fall back on that, so that you familiarize yourself with the process before you start. Again, after all have failed, you can message me on Messenger, or you can call me and you can ask anyone who is old enough within FCAS about my number. I still use the same number.
Dongan na tarbe usa ni ngalala cikong korsia ni ososo.
Bisma.
Sisil sama.
Gay message mo niya ni sa ngalala.
Santo Bisma.
Nakabala everyone. Thank you, Ms. Ma. Thank you for joining. I'll just a reminder from Pa, you hold off. We're having this refresher. If you are willing to submit your data, do so. However, for your monitoring, the monthly monitoring that we're going to carry forward onwards, that is going to be on hold until we receive the next tranche of funding, because that is what we're going to send to your coordinator to disperse to you for your data and also your com support for this project. Thank you. You have a wonderful afternoon. So sorry that we cannot serve you tea, but you can ask Pa later for support for tea. Sorry, but we are so thankful for your time. I know that some of you are still rushing home. It's raining here in Suba, but we'll definitely we're thinking of you in our prayers and as we partake the spread in front of us. I'll ask Usa just to bless us. I'll ask Auntie Vani to bless us this evening for the session that we've just carried out, to give thanks for his guidance and also to bless us for the rest of the evening. Thank you, Auntie Vani.
Ni coba dengan kalule wena sinabi na kanipua kaya binatang ng mirolong ng bibarutaki binatang ng mabasa silakan alumato ni sila medike mani mereka memerani rawat tukina nabi kaiso mami rawat tu yang dari bibarutaki kombo memang binatang bikin ni sampai bahavari Indonesiawi di merah karena meni lengvanuan meni bitiko kim sabar bilang tawari ranodom pula irana daga kambole terus itu nanti ni bete tekira dengan bikai so ngerebi na lomin so bongo era bator dai tekina ngada vita bikin ngada kim sabar bilang tu bikin menyelang rambulan volunteers kede na bediko tingkawalu sama bilang tangso kami na nombor bilutaki era coordinating committees so resolution na nombor mera linga yabang matan linga bingarantiko na songgongo kim sa bilang tagawali bikim ni tulo binaka ni tabi ng nagtiko dina na star kinanan renre bikim bani ko bikim ni mamikule ni baro tegi bolikina wandi teki mamitiko ni awalnya suruh kami tukar ni boleh kerana memang kolomina. Kira tu wekem ni na buku na rumah tua. Merah negara bina itu kini kita. Kalau bina tak boleh wekem ni tombula. Nabi lu tak boleh na. Kusuk bulan ini. Na boleh dalam bulan ni jai toko ni bulan ni atau mana buat kalau bina. Sebab ni bina tak tu wekem na tombula. Ni staff. Dia ni. Levo na kaya na sa tamatigo vera lini vanua vera na volunteers na ndende tumbe ka sona itabe garabi bila wale na sulati una lini ko sota na bila wale makalo binaka ni sulati ko vera na elo ni bibata ulili ati ko na buku ni sulati vera to madram ko binaka vera na lini vanua kem sababi ni binaka ko vera binaka ko kem ni na me ko binaka huwa ni beka ni bibaro tagi volunteer besul sul na lomni na lotamu yung sababi ni bilang tarati ko na solo cuma tikeman kira ni usul kalau ngatang na kanya boleh tikin ke mami ni tiba ni yang tiba ni bingarabi yang ini garabi tarin kan ribo no din ni tikeman kila rosi tino ko yang ngani garabi ko kalau ngatang bulan na bidik courses ngatang na bulan na boleh kemi yung tarati na kalau sa ni may batkan na may iba ko ngatek mas na ram chisu ni bola
Amen.